Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So,
I hope what you said, he's not gonna knock on the door.
like, by the way, I was watching that live stream. Yeah,
Yeah.
like what? Like, how the hell did you watch it?
I was like, oh
Creative juice.
I think I could say my work. I would have like crazy, like probably 15, 16-hour work days, just purely because like when I would finish my 9 to 5, I would go to central London and just do a client job. And I have so much more time now because obviously I'm not doing that 9 to 5 and my client work has stopped. So I've gone from like working all the time to not working at all. And it's crazy. It feels like I'm studying. It feels like I'm in school again. And it's like summer holidays. And it's like, you just don't have to do anything for the whole holiday. And then, like you said, the same thing happened. Like for like a few weeks, you're just procrastinating, thinking like, oh, just doing nothing all day. And then you had that kind of like break and you're thinking, you know what, mate, you're never going to get this time again. This is like a once in a lifetime opportunity. Like take this negative and make it a positive and let's like concentrate and do something. And yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing as well.
yeah. I don't know about you being on the boat of like a lot of my friends are on the quarantine relationship.
What is that?
You know, like meeting someone during quarantine and now you're in a
Oh no, that's so good. I'm already with someone. So like we've been
okay,
like
okay.
I have a girlfriend. We've been together for like 9 years next week.
Oh wow, congrats.
Yeah, so it's a long time. Like I'm 31. Oh my god, I'm 31. I forgot the year. Yeah, I'm 31. And yeah, so like she gets like lucky she gets to work from home. And she's like a photographer as well, and she's half Filipino like me, which is cool. But yeah, like it's yeah, we kind of just like adapting. But I never heard of this quarantine relationship thing. That's weird. That's so different.
I think people that I have friends who are in long-term relationships, they every time let's talk about like online dating, they're always just like, I don't know if I can survive that. Like they weren't part of that, like, you know, they didn't have to deal with that scenario. So interesting, because like so what I'm saying, like for me, like I have like no interest. I think I'm still like trying to just, you know, go with like just figure out myself. Like I don't need to add on more, you know, situations to worry about right now. But like friends who, let's say they don't have necessarily the drive to create things, they just want to live an everyday life, which is fine. And for them, they have the time to go like talk to whoever and then meet someone. I was just like, that's just too much work. It's just a lot. And, yeah, and it's like, I think a lot of people are more vulnerable nowadays, you know, with what's going on. So funny enough though, one of my friends, so he was like talking to this girl on, like, I guess they met on Tinder. And we have this inside joke because his profile picture I took. So I was like, oh, I should get commission for that because now you guys are talking. So then they met in person like a week ago and they broke up.
Oh no.
And I was like, maybe reality hit her where she was like, I don't want to be in a commitment.
Like, you know what? I was always saying to my friends, like, I wouldn't know how to date now at all. Like this whole Tinder thing, like even to me, like looking at it now, it's still so weird to me. Like back in the day when I was like single, like out in the town trying to meet people, like back in the day you'd have to have social contact. Now and then you would think about online dating is the most strangest thing ever, and like now that's the norm, and it's so weird even to me. Like I can't like get over the fact that people can just message someone on the app and meet up and like have sex. Baffles me, seriously. Just like I don't get it.
Or the fact that you could like filter who you want.
Yeah, it's like people become so shallow. It's unbelievable. It's like no, like it's I know how people say like, yeah, you have to be attracted to the person, but I find it so hard to be attracted to someone until I speak to them. It's, you know what I mean? And like nowadays, it's just so different. And I think I'd probably like if something, touch wood, if something happened in my relationship and it didn't work out somehow, I'll probably just stay single forever. I probably wouldn't even try anymore. Like, you know what, screw it. That's it. Full-time filmmaker. I'm gonna go live as a nomad somewhere in the world.
Well,
like
that's
the plan.
my that's my game plan.
Hey,
No,
see, so you're already ahead of the game.
I mean, I literally was like, you know what? Like, what really fulfills me and makes me happy is making work. And that sounds like a workaholic answer, but for real, I feel that I've always been more satisfied making stuff, making people inspired. Like for me, if someone came down the road and was, you know, like they mesh well with my morals and values and what I want to do. But I've always felt like I've always ran into somebody who was like, oh, what you're doing is cool, but I don't get it. Or like,
Yeah.
or that they'll just be there for like the first like wave, but then they don't want to deal with the hardships, which is like, so you're just dating me for my Instagram profile, you know, you're just seeing my best life, you're not really
Yeah.
there for everything. So that's why I say like it's really hard, and especially online dating. Like for me, I have like no interest because I just feel like this whole ghosting nonsense. Oh my god, like to talk to someone, you know, for amount of days and then they just disappear. Like what the heck is that?
Like it's like, because obviously like you love to work as well. Each like day, each minute, each hour is like valuable time. So you're thinking, I could have been doing this. Why waste my time? Just tell me now. But yeah, no, I get exactly
I sound
what
like
you're
a
saying.
psycho, but that I really value my time.
100%.
Like
Yeah.
I'm always like, okay, like, well, for me, I realize like, I don't know, your love language, but like for me, it's words of affirmation. So it's like, if we say we're gonna like meet or we have this promise, like we're gonna do it, you know?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
when
yeah.
people like are like half-ass or they're like late or like they don't really like commit, you're like, bro, like what are you doing? Like you just
Yeah,
ruined like everything now.
like my whole day is just like, that's like, you know, I thought I
Yeah.
didn't want to be like, you know, when you messaged me earlier and you said, oh, like when are you free today? I didn't want to. I felt like, oh, was I rude? Because I said like, oh, I'm free for the next 2 hours. But that's literally how I am. It's like, all right, this 2 hours I'm going to dedicate to this, and then after this I need to do this. Like after this, as soon as we're done here, I'm going to literally shoot my final scene on my short film, and I've got literally everything set up down the end of the corridor. And I'm just like, and that's pretty much, yeah. It's just weird how like luckily enough, like I got really into this before, like when we were already together, me and my girlfriend, and like she's a photographer as well, she's a creative, so it's kind of like it's easy, she understands. It's funny, when we go traveling, it's kind of like we travel to like as much as it's like, oh, we want to see the place as well, but we also want to make something cool, so it's kind of like, yeah, it works hand in hand, so it's quite nice. But yeah, time is definitely valuable, and like using it wisely is, don't want anyone wasting your time pretty much.
So what's your like advice to people? For me, it doesn't work when I date someone in the same field. So
So I've always said, like, you know, when people say like, oh yeah, it's so good to have like similarities, same music, same this, I'm like, sometimes it is. It's just like how every gamer, like a guy who likes playing games, they always say they want a gamer girl. And it's like, then they get a gamer girl and then they're using the PlayStation when they want to play the PlayStation. It doesn't work. Sometimes, like for me, like I understand, like, it is hard to have the exact same passion. So like my girlfriend's not into filmmaking. She's into photography. When we go out to do, like when I go out to do filmmaking, she'll help me do it. And it's like, it's fine, but I never get in her way. She never gets in my way. We never want to clash and make content. Like it's never it's never work. It's hard to explain. I think the best way I can say it is that when you're trying to, like, if your partner, if you're already with someone and they're doing the same thing as you, I think it's so important to kind of like separate relationships to like your passion, because if like I try to do, like if you're gonna do the passion, like try not to do it together. Try and do it with your own, like your own people, your own crew, your own kind of separate things, because it's so important to have that separation as well as having that togetherness. Like it's not good to always be with someone. It's so important to have your own space, your own time to develop your own passion, your own things, even if it means going in the kitchen for like an hour, listening to a podcast, and making coffee. Like something like it's so important to like have that separation, have that like division, that sense of individuality. Because if you're constantly together, constantly doing the same things together, going out together, eating together, cooking together, everything together, it does become overwhelming, and you start to understand flaws in everyone, which everyone has. But when you have that balance, because life is balance, when you have that balance, that's when it works, because you know maybe there's something about her, like something about me she does like annoys her, but because I'm not constantly pushing at it, because I'm always around her, it gives her like right now she's like chilling in the bedroom, she's like listening to a podcast, and she's I think like reading a book, and like I'm doing this with you, and like after this I'm going to be filming, and like tonight I'm pretty much not going to see her until the morning now. But that's just the sense of just like she knows what I do, I know what she does, and it's kind of like she goes to me, oh, I'm going to meet up with this person and collaborate. Do your thing. Like it's important to have your own separate individuality and in your own separate life, as well as being together. I think that's how relationships last long, and it makes everything reflect fresh. Because obviously, if you're doing everything together all the time, there's nothing new. There's always, oh, same thing. Oh, everything's the same. Oh, same thing. There's nothing fresh and brand new, a story that you can tell someone that happened today. So I think it's important to have complete balance. I rambled so much there. I'm so
I was like, mic drop.
See you later.
Yeah. No, I that's always been the golden question that I always try to figure out. Like, is it better to be with someone who's not in the same field? I've tried that. Dated someone in the same field. Tried that. Still left with no one.
I think it's like literally it doesn't matter what they do. I think it's just like I said, it just matters about having your own space.
Yeah.
Like they can do the exact same thing as you, and they can do the complete opposite to you. As long as you have your own space, it's so important. That's all that matters.
It's funny. It's funny because like the guys that I date, regardless if they're in the same field or not, they've always been supportive in what I want to do, which is great. Like awesome. They've always wanted to. They either have been part of my shoots or they want to, just help, whatever. But then when it comes to like being a boyfriend, they're all like shitty.
That's just a luck of the draw, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's just like okay, you guys are supportive in what I do, but then when it comes to like listening or being like like the boyfriend aspect of it, it's just like just goes down.
And I think that comes to goes back to the question of how you meet. If you met on a set doing filmmaking, that's always going to be the most important thing in the relationship, because that's how you met. I met my girlfriend in a coffee shop. I sold her coffee, and that's pretty much how we met, without knowing, because we eventually learned what we do, how we like to do it, and so what I mean, things like that. Which is why our being in a relationship is always first, and then our passions are always kind of like secondary. But that's why we can keep it separate, which is really, really good.
That's like the first time I ever heard of like the place you like met is really important. Like that's like the foundation. I never thought of it. Now thinking like, oh, where did I meet these dudes? I'm like, makes it's interesting to put into perspective. All of the dudes too, they don't have social media. It's weird. Like I was like, it's nice to not have a person that doesn't have a social media presence, but then it's also like that's the norm. So then it's like kind of makes you feel like they're off if they don't have what everyone else is doing
and
too.
It's also, I think it's also important, like, because they understand why you do it if they have one themselves. I think that's the kind of thing, because when, like, same thing, like my friend doesn't have social media and he doesn't get it, and he gets annoyed at his girlfriend because she's always on it through his eyes, but it's like you said, it's a norm. And I think it's important. I don't know, I'm like you, I think you should have like at least an Instagram, at least.
Yeah, just don't take like 5 million selfies. That's weird for me. To see a dude with a lot of selfies, I'll admit it. Unless they're like aesthetically pleasing, if it's just like gym selfies, I can't help but like question that. So yeah.
Like, who do you love, you or me?
Yeah, exactly, right? So that's why I'm like, I don't know. And like I said, like seeing people's like online profiles, you're just like, as a photographer or whatever, you're like, what made you want to post this photo?
Yeah,
Like,
why?
did you really think that people would like this photo?
You know what it is? These are all the era. Like, I don't know. Like, did you use MySpace at all when you were younger?
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like all of these images I see of these like gym people, like these are just MySpace pictures. Like you go on like my old MySpace profile, the most edgiest pictures you'll ever see. Like I'm trying to look in a certain way to make myself look cooler. Like every time I go into these gym profiles and like they're just like, oh yeah, go from this to this in a week. Yeah, and it's like, oh yeah, just sweaty workout today. And it's like, why? Do people actually care? Is this like, do people actually go and like, wow, that's the most interesting thing. Please tell me more. Like,
yeah, exactly. So that's why I say it goes back to like trying to figure out how the mind works. I'm just like, what made you want to do this or wear this or show this off? I don't know.